We tend to trust those pieces of paper, diplomas, degrees, certificates. We see them as proof of achievement.
We do. They're supposed to mean something.
But what if they don't? Or what if you can't tell the real from the fake? In Kenya, a recent audit found something pretty staggering.
Yeah, over 2,000 fake academic and professional documents, just within government institutions.
2,000. It really makes you question things, doesn't it? Like, what are some of our vital services actually built on?
It's deeply concerning. And that's what we're going to unpack in this deep dive, not just the numbers, but the real impact these fake credentials have.
Because it's not just about getting a foot in the door, is it?
No, not at all. People are using these fakes for promotions, climbing the ladder, and significantly earning salaries they haven't, well, legitimately earned. There's a lot of money involved.
And the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the EACC, they're right in the middle of this, trying to sort it out.
They are heavily involved. It's a huge task trying to untangle this whole mess. It really touches on core issues of, well, corruption.
Okay, let's start with those numbers, because 2,000 instances, that sounds enormous, but is it just the beginning?
It certainly seems like the tip of the iceberg. That figure came from a Public Service Commission audit looking at 331 government bodies.
Right.
But that's just one audit. The EACC, they've been investigating separately. Since 2022, they've opened over 549 cases specifically about fake documents.
Over 500 more cases. Wow.
And then there was a report in 2023 from the Kenya National Qualifications Authority. They estimated, get this, almost 30% of civil servants might have used forged documents.
30%? That can't be right, surely. That sounds incredibly high.
It's an alarming figure, I agree. Whether it's precisely 30% or slightly less, it paints a picture of a really widespread problem, not just isolated incidents.
And you mentioned the money. What are we talking about financially?
Well, the EACC is trying to get back upwards of 460 million Kenya shillings.
460 million.
Yes. Just since 2022, money paid out as salaries, benefits to people using these fake qualifications. It's a massive drain on public funds. It's essentially theft, enabled by this forgery.
A huge amount. And it highlights that link to corruption you mentioned. It's not just about a fake piece of paper. It's about diverting resources.
Exactly. And this isn't just about, say, faking a high school certificate to get a basic job. The problem goes much higher up the chain.
How high are we talking?
We're seeing fake documents at all levels. Secondary school certs, diplomas, bachelor's degrees, masters, even PhDs.
PhDs? Seriously, how does that even happen?
We heard from one university lecturer who actually found fake research reports being submitted at the PhD level. It suggests, a real breakdown in verification, even at the highest academic levels.
That is genuinely shocking. You'd assume the scrutiny would be intense at that stage.
You would. And the audit found that about 70% of the cases they identified were within national and county governments. That's where the focus has been.
Okay, so mainly public sector so far. But does anyone think it's just limited to government jobs?
It seems highly unlikely. I mean, if it's this widespread in public institutions where there are at least some checks and balances, you have to assume the private sector is facing a similar, maybe even worse problem. It just hasn't been audited in the same way.
That makes sense. A hidden problem, perhaps.
And we do have some other concrete numbers. The Kenya National Examination Council, they handled the national exams. They were asked by 91 public institutions to verify about 53,000 certificates.
Okay.
Out of those, they confirmed over 12,280 were outright forgeries.
So nearly 1,300 confirmed fakes just from that one source checking for 91 institutions. The scale is really starting to sink in.
It is. It's pervasive.
So how are people actually getting these? Is it some sophisticated underground network or?
Well, this is where it gets almost disturbingly simple. Reports suggest you can basically just buy them online.
Buy them online, like add a bachelor's degree to your shopping cart.
Pretty much. Apparently, a quick search turns up websites offering bachelor's, master's degrees. You pay a fee, maybe a few thousand shillings, and you get a degree. No classes, no exams.
Just like that. What's the process?
From what's reported, you choose the university, the course you want, upload some details, make the payment, and then you receive a certificate. Looks official, seals, transcripts, the whole package.
That's incredible. The ease of it is just mind-boggling, and it completely bypasses any actual learning or qualification.
Exactly. And that ease of access is clearly fueling the problem. If it's that simple, the temptation is there, especially maybe if job prospects are tough.
Which brings us to the consequences. The most obvious one, I guess, is how it just destroys the value of a real qualification.
Absolutely. Think about someone who spent years studying, maybe took out loans, sacrificed, only to find their degree is seen as potentially worthless because so many fakes are floating around.
It must be incredibly demoralizing, a real sense of unfairness. It basically attacks the whole idea of meritocracy.
It's a direct assault on academic integrity. And genuine graduates feel cheated, understandably.
Yeah.
But beyond that feeling, there are some very real dangers, tangible risks.
In what way? What kind of dangers?
Well, think about critical jobs, healthcare, for example. There was a really concerning report about a lecturer who had fake medical lab science qualifications.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Potentially teaching students incorrect procedures, passing on dangerous information. Imagine the knock-on effects, wrong diagnoses, wrong treatments down the line.
That's terrifying. People's lives could literally be at risk.
Precisely. Or think about engineering, construction. Someone with fake qualifications signing off on projects. It could lead to structural failures, accidents. It's not just about someone having a job they don't deserve. It's about public safety.
So the trust issue isn't just about academia, it's trust in professionals across the board, doctors, engineers.
Exactly. If you start doubting whether the professionals you rely on are actually qualified, the whole system starts to break down. And it could hurt Kenya internationally, too. If Kenya gets a reputation for having lots of fake certificates, it could really damage the prospects of genuine Kenyan graduates trying to work or study overseas. Their qualifications might face extra scrutiny or just not be trusted.
Right. And there's a political angle, too, isn't there? I read the EACC is looking into elected officials as well.
Yes, that's another layer. Over 100 elected officials are apparently being probed. It raises serious questions about, well, the integrity of leadership itself. And it connects back to that broader issue of corruption.
It really does. If leaders potentially hold fake credentials, what message does that send?
Well, as one report put it, it fosters a worrying value system. It makes it seem like you can get ahead, get power, without actually earning it, without the qualifications. It normalizes taking shortcuts.
And that impacts the younger generation, seeing that.
Definitely. It undermines the whole idea of hard work and merit. Ultimately, this crisis is about stolen opportunities for those who did things the right way. And it compromises the very institutions meant to serve the public.
So, given how serious this is, what's being done, is the government taking strong action?
There seems to be a shift towards more decisive action recently. Felix Koske, the head of public service, announced a big multi-agency crackdown.
Okay.
And significantly, it's targeting employees in both the public and private sectors. So they're acknowledging it's not just a government problem.
That's a positive step. And what does this crackdown involve? Checking everyone's papers.
Essentially, yes. A key part is a directive for all public institutions to go back and authenticate the academic and professional certificates of all their staff.
That sounds like a mammoth task.
It is a huge undertaking, but vital if they're serious about cleaning house. The EACC, as we said, is central investigating, prosecuting, trying to recover the money, and pushing for disciplinary action like dismissals.
Is everyone on board, though? Is the response seen as strong enough across the board?
Well, there has been some criticism. Some reports suggest that certain institutions, maybe even parts of the judiciary, haven't treated it with the urgency it perhaps deserves. There's a sense that the response needs to be more consistent and maybe tougher everywhere.
Okay. Any long-term solutions being discussed? Beyond just checking current employees?
Yes, there's talk about using technology, specifically blockchain. The idea is that blockchain could create tamper-proof digital records of academic certificates, making them much harder to forge in the future.
Interesting. A technological fix. But for right now, what needs to happen immediately?
I think the most crucial thing is for employers, everyone, public and private, to be much more rigorous about verifying documents before they hire someone. Due diligence up front.
Prevention is better than cure, basically.
Exactly. Stop the problem before it starts.
Oh.
And there are also calls to be, well, ruthless, as one person put it, with those already found to have used fakes in government. A zero-tolerance approach, basically suggesting they should leave their positions.
Because ultimately, having unqualified people in important roles holds the country back, right? And feeds into that cycle of corruption and potentially lack of opportunity.
Precisely. It's about linking education properly to industry, ensuring people in key roles actually have the skills. When that link is broken by fraud, It damages national progress, it wastes resources, and it fuels that sense that maybe the system is rigged.
It really does seem to boil down to fundamental values, doesn't it? This isn't just about paperwork, it feels like a symptom of something deeper. Maybe hard work isn't valued enough, or maybe the pressure from things like high unemployment pushes people towards these desperate measures.
That's a really important point. It likely reflects systemic issues. Yes, individual deception, but also maybe pressures from unemployment, maybe a slow erosion of ethical standards, a normalization of corruption in some areas. Tackling it means looking at those root causes too.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive today, we've seen this issue of academic forgery in Kenya is frankly enormous. Thousands of cases in government, likely many more unseen in the private sector.
Yeah, and we've touched on how disturbingly easy it seems to be to get these fake documents online.
And the consequences are huge, undermining genuine achievement, posing real public safety risks, eroding trust, and potentially damaging Kenya's international reputation.
Absolutely. The government crackdown is underway, verification efforts are happening,
Yeah.
and there's talk of tech solutions like blockchain. But the impact is already significant.
It really underscores the challenge to the integrity of the whole professional system there.
It does. And while the official response is crucial, it feels like it also needs a deeper shift in values, a recommitment to honesty and merit.
Definitely. Which leads us to a final thought for you, our listener. Beyond the crackdown and the verification drives we've discussed, what are the deeper currents driving this? How much is this crisis fueled by things like intense competition for scarce jobs, or perhaps a wider societal tolerance for cutting corners? What does the prevalence of academic forgery really tell us about the value placed on genuine effort versus the pressure to succeed at any cost? And what could that mean long-term for fairness, trust, and the future of Kenyan society?